Hello everybody, you're welcome back. Today we'll be seeing some of the basic syntaxes of Python program. In the last class we saw how to use Python program directly in the command line, just like here, the terminal, and also how to put it in a file in which we did basically something like this. You see name, this inputs, this something that calls prompts the user to type his name and brings out the name of the user. That is what this portion of the code does. This is just as basic as can be. Okay, we'll have this, then you just say hello, okay, with the user's name. Yes, we can do this inside of the terminal, and we can also do this just as a file, as I've done here now. If we run this program here, I want you to take notes of the fact that with VS Code you can decide to run directly by clicking on this button, this run button here. If you click on it, it runs and prompts you to enter your name. If you type your name as Wisdom, what it says is hello Wisdom. That is the results you get. So you can also write a couple of codes here and also run it, but in this one you are going to be calling the Python shell, as I told us before, and the way to do that is just say Python. Once you do that, this comes up for you. Then here you can write whatever code you want to write. Okay, but we're not going to be running our codes inside of the Python shell, so let me exit that. We're going to be writing our codes inside of the file, like as we have here. So today we're going to be seeing things, talking as in getting started with understanding the syntax of Python. Yes, then let's understand how Python arranges its block of code. Python does that by using indentation. How do I mean indentation? When you have this name equals this and you want, okay, let me use another thing. I want to do something like I want to write a complete block of code. I say, okay, let me just something like this. If 5 is greater than 2, okay, take note of what I'm doing. If 5 is greater than 2, you see this indentation from here to here is how Python marks an indentation, how it marks the next line of code. Yes, how it marks something that is dependent on the first line. Okay, print, let me say this, print 5 is greater than 2. Okay, what this basically does is that it reads through this, seeing this column that is here. This tells you that the next line of code is dependent on this. So this is now a complete block of code. If I want to continue another line, another block of code, I will have to close up this indentation. Let me see now, else print, let me just say 5 is not greater than 2. Okay, then once you want to stop a block of code, then you have to close up that indentation. That is what I want us to pick from this. Yes, okay, that having been said, if I run this code, definitely it should run. Okay, if I want to run it, I can run it here directly by saying, calling on the Python interpreter and calling the name of the file, that is testing.py. Okay, 2. And in this case 5 is obviously greater than 2. 5 is greater than 2. Yeah, but if 5 is not greater than 2, this other one, the second block of code print statement will run. Okay, now we are going to continue. Now let's talk about python variables. Python variables basically are containers which python uses to keep data values. Yes, data values are the real value of anything that you are assigning to a variable. Variable is something that can change, as we know from other programming languages. There are things that can change. Yes, that's why it's called variables. So in python, variables are used to hold a data value. Yes, that, as I've said earlier, something like this. Yes, I have assigned it. You don't need to close it. You don't need to end it with semicolon or anything. Just you have already done it, and there is no nothing like a declaration statement in python. Unlike other programs that you have to define, do something like this. Let me say var s equals maybe say 5. Yes, in some other programming languages, yes, like javascript also, you do something like this, but in python you don't need to declare anything like that. All you need to do is say this s is equal 5, and you have declared and assigned the value of 5 to variable s. And you can also assign a variable to, or a string to a variable. Say something like this: hello friends. Yes, you can also assign, you see, I've assigned this string variable to this string value to this y variable. Yes, you can also do that. Now let's talk about comments. Comments are basically ways of making our codes readable. Like what I did before, I did something like this: if, let me say, if 5 greater than 2, okay, then print that. I print yes. Let me just say I print yes. Okay, having this now, if I don't want this guy to run, I can just decide to comment it out. That is another function of the comments. Yes, and it also makes code readable. For me to comment, you will use the hashtag symbol. Hashtag, this is hashtag. Once you start your statement with this, it is a comment. Is a comment. So this is not going to run if I run this codes here. If I run this code, this guy here is not going to run. This is a comment. It's not going to run because why? It is already commented out. It is commented out. So this is also the another very important use of comments. You use it to block some aspect of your code from running, either when you are testing your code, that allows you to block certain aspect that you are sure are already working, or you want to see the effect of a particular portion of code on your program. So you can use comments to block them out. Yes, and in using VS Code, there are certain shortcuts you can use. You can just press your command and your forward slash. Command and forward slash, it toggles between your comment and uncomment. You see that? Just forward slash, that does that. So you easily, it should be a handy tool for you for why commenting or applying comments in your code. And you can also do multiple line comments. Let's say you want to, well, your comment is, or you want to comment out a particular or some lines of code, let's say like these ones. You can also do the same thing. If you toggle across, if you toggle just what I said now with control forward slash, it will comment out all the lines of code like this, using putting the a hashtag in front of each of the lines. Yes, this is one way you do it, and this is the proper way that you do it. But there is another way. Apply something like this. You see, this is a comment. I can decide to say this, it continues. Okay, once I'm done with this, I can also close it like this. Yes, this block of code too, once you have it inside of this triple quotes, it will not run. Yes, it will not run. It's Python is going to see it as comments. See that as I ran this program, nothing happened. Not even this ran, not even this ran. Yes, so that is how you use comments. Okay, now let's continue with variables. Let's continue with variables. How do we name our variables in Python? You can apply short names like this, s is equals to 2, as your variable name, but as a programmer, it's better to use names that has something to do with what you are doing. Something like count. Okay, let me say count equals 0. Yes, these two are variable names, this s and this count. But when somebody looks at s, the person obviously will not be able to decipher what x maybe is standing for. Unlike in count, when somebody sees count equals 0, the person knows that the beginning of the count is 0. So this is a more meaningful name. It's better use something that is meaningful, a more meaningful name, so that next time you come back, or when somebody else is reading through your codes, he will be able, at least it will be easier to read. Okay, and there are a few things you will have to know. That you must always start your Python variables with just alphabet or underscore. How do I mean alphabet? A to Z, or you use or you start it with an underscore. Yes, this an underscore, something like this. Okay, just as all these ones are starting with alphabet, but I can still say something like this: item equals 5 or 6. Okay, yes, I can see something like this. Is still a valid Python variable. Yes, anything outside of this, you cannot start your Python code with let's say 1 count. It is wrong. You rather use underscore like this, or you just say count. Yes, but it can contain numbers. It can contain numbers. Okay, to say count 2, this is very valid. Count 2 is very valid, but you cannot have 2 counts. Yes, that is another way. And Python variable is very case sensitive. How do I mean? It is case sensitive. If you have something like this, age equals to, okay, let me see, age equals to, these two things are not the same. They are different variable names. They are not the same. So when you have this somewhere and you want to use it, and you now invoke it like this, or you now decide to use it as this, it will not work. It is wrong. So because Python variables are case sensitive, to output variables, well, of doing it, I did something like, let me say count equals 0. Sorry, count equals 0. Yes, if I want to output this, the value of this count, all I need do is print count. In this case, notice that it is not inside of a quote any longer, because already this is a variable. So this is what I should do. So if I come here and I run this, okay, let me say I will say count equals 2. Okay, then I come here and I say, okay, I'm sure because I didn't save it. Okay, count 2. You see that this is where you output your variable. Okay, or even if we can also even do something like, let me just use s equals, let me use s equals 3, then y equals 5. I can say something like this: print s plus y. Yes, these are ways in which we save. Must always save for it to run for you. Yes, this is 8, this is this, and this is 8. Yes, you can even also, I have this as, I say this hello, then I also have this as, let me say, friends. Okay, if I do this, what do you guess will happen? It will still run as hello friends, but in this case it's putting it together. So the best thing to do is to make a space around the first one, and if I do that, it gives me hello friends. Yes, so these are some of the ways in which you are put your variables in Python. Yeah. Wow. And that is the end of this tutorial. Thank you for staying to the end. You can leave your comments or any question you might want to ask. Thank you.